Hey all, hopefully voice is coming through. Let me fire up chat here and darken the screen. Okay, am I back? I think, maybe. Not looking good. It's been a month since it's doing the shenanigans. We'll see if this happens again. Brent, hello. Choya. There's my face for a little bit. But if this gets too ridiculous, we'll just end it. I'm not going to make everybody sit through a lot of this. We'll just try again next week but it has been about a month since we had this kind of stuff. But I don't know if this is too many people sharing or if it's service, but connections going to set. I don't want people who are there. We go. I don't want people who are watching us also on a replay that have sit there going, okay, what the hell? Why can't make them boring as heck? But I suspect, I'm just thinking the way the days have been going lately, it's just going to be a washout tonight. Uh, yeah, Dallas Vapor, it is buffering like crazy. It's a disaster tonight. Um, if it's just really bad, we'll just cancel and we'll try again next week. I think we had a month ago. We had 2 weekends in a row was a disaster. Actually, think Sunday night probably isn't best because everybody in the planet's got Netflix fired up or something here in this neighborhood. Uh, over here on the East Coast on things. But oh, hey, it's been okay for 30 seconds now. Well, that's a new record for today. All right, let's see who else is that. How's Zeta? Thanks for joining us. Dallas Avery, Brent Chadwick, other name 1000. Well, I'm on the phone right now. I get terrible cell phone reception in here, other name 1000, because it's a pre-war building, 12-inch thick walls, 18-inch thick floors. So the cell service is disastrous. I have to do everything over. So if I look through the glasses here, why don't I come back down and look straight at the phone? Do everything through Wi-Fi. It's not the local connection here. That's fine. It's been perfectly fine all day. It has to, once it leaves my apartment, it's either, the building is sharing too much for the local cable that's coming in, or since everything else has been working fine, YouTube issue, the local servers or something like that. It's just I'm not gonna be able to stream movies and do everything perfectly okay all day long. And then all of a sudden when I use YouTube, ba-ding, there's an issue. Jay Ranch, hopefully I can stay on. Dallas Vapors have trouble all day. Scott Bogfoot asks if I've ever viewed battery X-rays to study internal processes. I've seen the X-ray movies and some stills, and it's there's been some terrific papers written uh, showing X-ray movies and thermal movies and some other things to show what happens, at least with thermal runaway. All the other processes are something where you need scanning electron microscopes and things like that. I don't think they've ever done any movies of that I've seen. Actual ion flow and stuff like that. That fascinates the hell out of me. I love that stuff. For anybody, just put battery space mooch in front of any questions that you had. Gives you a nice red tag. Don't need a hashtag. Don't need an @ symbol. Just battery space mooch. Thank you. Rick Crawford hopes that my weekend is good and I have a great Labor Day. Things are, at least health-wise, I'm slowly recovering from the 2 weeks of grief. Probably about halfway there. Got quite a ways to go. Pretending to be perky right now. Probably have to lay down for the rest of the evening after this. But thank you very much, and hopefully tomorrow's a catch-up day for me, just work-wise and tests and stuff like that. ADV, what's up? Thanks, Justin. Again, people putting questions in chat without battery space mooch. Battery space mooch in front. I don't know how else to say that of any questions you have. Please, it's the only way I can see it. Because otherwise I ignore most of the things without that, thinking it's just inter-chat banter. Hazelzita, what's the best way to clean a battery that's been drenched in juice from a leaking tank? Can it be saved or should it be recycled? Well, if you're comfortable with it, with rewrapping, you'll need to rewrap, but you can um, take off the wrap, save the top ring insulator, wash off the top ring insulator, just wipe down the whole battery with ever so slightly damp paper towel or something like that. Get in underneath the openings up on top, let the battery dry out, and then rewrap. But the risks with that, you've got a bare battery, so you're taking on this risk yourself. Just if you're comfortable with doing it, then you can do it. Just don't put that battery down anyplace because it can roll and touch something easily. China Ramirez is battery underscore mooch, which won't tag me for anything. For everybody, please, battery space mooch in front of any questions. That's the only way I'm going to see it. Just battery space mooch. No underscore. You don't have to capitalize. No hashtags, no end symbols. The word battery, an empty space, the word mooch. Thanks. Scott Bogfoot, is battery discharge a product of entropy? I'm running out of questions that are coherently constructed. Well, entropy, battery discharge a product of entropy? Interesting. Entropy is going to want the ions to be distributed evenly every place. But when you discharge, you're taking the ions, moving from one side of the battery to the other, as opposed to evenly distributing the ions throughout the battery. So I'd say no, entropy is not involved. It's just a function of the voltage pushing uh, current from one point to another. Entropy would want to see everything evenly distributed. Tova Yonder asked, do the clear wraps make you nervous when you see them? Not anymore, because so many people clear wrap just because they like to get a rise out of people. I clear wrap just because it's easier for me often to see the battery that I'm actually using. Once I rewrap, it's actually easier for me to remember what the battery is if I use clear wraps and I just write the battery number in Sharpie on the battery itself, on the metal can, and then rewrap. But clear wraps do make it harder to see when there's damage to the wrap. So for that reason, I don't like seeing clear wraps. Rob Wiggles, plastic ring insulators or paper? See if actually I come back. I'm not going to talk, Rob, about your question yet because I don't know if I'm back yet. It's still trying to get me there. Okay, I think I might be back now. So Rob, plastic rings are better if you're leaking e-liquid because the plastic rings won't be affected by the e-liquid. But paper rings don't melt. So if you've got you're worried about thermal runaway or I don't know what, uh, or essentially if you're not leaking e-liquid, which paper rings can soften and absorb the e-liquid and soften up and get damaged easier, paper rings are better to resist the heat. Johnny Ramirez asks, is Molicel the best battery brand out there? That's personal preference. Connect. If this keep up, hey, it might have come back. Uh, so other people might say that Sony's the best or Samsung's the best because of certain cells that they use that have great performance. So it's really, I think, what you call the best. But two of the best all-around performing cells, regardless of the brand, are Molly cells, the P26A and P42A for me. And part of that is because Molly cell supports our community. That helps boost them up. If the Molly cell performs equally to something else, like the P26A is equal to the VTC5A, more or less, essentially, I'll go for the Molly cell because you can get recently manufactured cells with a known grade from a company that supports the vaping community. That will make it a better cell for me. Krusty Shackelford, hey, what are your thoughts on the PMTA? It's terrible for the community. How do you think it'll affect the current market? It'll destroy it. Deadline is in 3 days. Yeah, deadline's in 3 days, but the market doesn't disappear in 3 days. Any law, any regulation only affects people if the law or regulation is enforced. And I believe that FDA said, they can't even begin to think about enforcement for a year. They don't have the they're busy with the COVID vaccines and everything else. They don't have the man or woman power to do the enforcement. So things don't just disappear in 3 days. Um, excuse me. So what are my thoughts about it? It's terrible. There are other ways they certainly could have done things that would have been a lot easier for them and a lot easier on the community or the industry, the vaping industry. Now, what happens in a year? Who are they going to pick to set an example? Because that's what I think they're going to do. Take a couple of big distributors, you know, or manufacturers or who knows what, stomp all over them, hoping 90% of everybody else goes, holy crap, we're out of here. And then their job is easy. They don't have to go in for 10,000 different companies and try to enforce things, which they can't do, and they're not going to do. They'll pick some big targets when they finally do things. Dragotan Marich, finally made it to a live stream. Welcome. He is a patron of mine, and it's wonderful to see him here. ADV, how long can I go on a battery until I should replace the cell? There's no calendar time. It could be 3 months, it could be 3 years. Really, if you start feeling it getting hot, when you start losing performance, and it's just pissing you off, if battery starts acting weird, if it's starting getting dented or damaged, the wrapper's damaged and you can't rewrap, then it's time to replace the cell. Really, it's up to you. There's no set time you have to go. Modest 195 says the Mrs. Hairdryer has died. Is there any other way to rewrap? I don't have a heat gun. Some people use a flame. I do not recommend that. In fact, I don't use a flame. You're gonna have to go out and get a new hairdryer. You'll need it for rewrapping, and the missus, if she needed a hairdryer before, will need a hairdryer again. So I'd say just get another hairdryer. You could Amazon it if that's an option, or just run out and connect here. Not sure if I'm back yet, but I'll look at some questions here. Ains Oil Gown, I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced. And I'm not back on this phone. I seem to be back here in the live stream, so let's keep going. At some point, my mod doesn't turn on when I put in my batteries, and then when I rearrange my batteries, it turns on. Is this still good, or is my mod a problem? Well, I think you've answered that question. The mod's a problem. It's not making connection with the batteries. The contacts may be pressed back, or you might have dirt or e-liquid or something there. Does it have you tried changing batteries? Does that help? If not, then it's the device, and you may have to get a new device because the contacts may be depressed. Hey, okay, so at least this phone says I'm back. Clinton Caraway, are there any 2650s available now? I haven't looked. You'd have to check the vendors. Check, Lithium-Ion Wholesale, IMR Batteries, Illum, 18650 Battery Store. Um, I have a list of vendors in the description section. Just go down through them and see if anybody has 2650s in stock. Tracy Thompson, hello. How have I been? Terrible, Tracy, but thank you for joining us, and hopefully my days just keep getting better. Scott Blackfoot, have I ever skated at the ice rink in Central Park during winter? Yes, but not for many years. That was back in, whoa. Oh, we're talking 80s and 90s on there, and it's interesting experience at the zoo. It's fabulous. The view, just being in the park, the skyline in the background. So I've always enjoyed it. Have you been there? Is that uh, what made you ask the question? Enjoyed it. Of course, the ice is in terrible condition because they don't go there and re-smooth the surface between each session and stuff like that. So unless you're there in the first session of the day, the ice is terrible, but it's just a great experience. Yevko Trovanov, would you recommend the XR VC4S? I haven't used it, haven't tested it, don't know. I haven't heard anything one way or the other. You might have to ask in your favorite Facebook group or in one of the forums or something like that. Sorry, I don't know. Brett Sucks. Hello. Thanks for joining us. Just Faisal. Hey, Mooch, I'm building an 1860 series PWM mod. My question is there such a thing as RMS current? Would you build coils like you do for series mod, even though you can do 50% on PWM? Well, there is such thing as RMS current, and the RMS voltage is going to determine what the RMS current is. For everyone who wonders, RMS is just a type of average. It's the averaging you have to do to figure the voltage you're actually running at. Just find out what your RMS voltage is to your coils, whatever the resistance is, and that's going to be your RMS current and what you'll use to determine what batteries that you need. And would I build coils like you do for series mod? You build coils for whatever voltage, RMS voltage you calculate that you'll be running at. Looking down here, Alico Fromp, any news on the rechargeables, alkaline sizes? Not yet. They're in the queue. I've got two of them. Hopefully, I get up to them soon. Had a couple of weeks dealing with health issues and trying to recover from that, and it's just working my way down through the queue. I was hoping this week. I think it's going to be next week. Chris Robertson, I think they will hit online distributors and crash their payment processes. Losing a payment processor can destroy a business completely. FDA is not going to crash payment processes, I don't think. They'll just tell the distributor. Okay, we'll see how well this goes. I don't want to talk too much while this is doing. All right, that seems to be talking to me over there. All right, so ADV asks, I'm looking for, and I do apologize for the connection tonight. It's not here in the apartment as far as I can tell, because everything else has been going fine all day. I think it's local servers for YouTube or something like that. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the evening. ADV, I'm looking for a new charger and I'm nervous about buying one that I've never heard of. Do you find that you get what you pay for when it comes to them? $8? Yeah, you get exactly what you pay for $8. A total, complete piece of junk. That's my opinion. You cannot make a reliable quality unit for $8. That means it's what, $2 in parts, $3 in parts? No, no, you're giving up something for that. Now, that doesn't mean an $80 charger is an incredible, amazing unit. It could mean it's an $8 charger with a $72 markup. So it's the reviews and things like that. Just buy one that other people say they've had great experiences with. I just don't have any recommendations on there. There's so many different charges types of charges that people want, and I've only tested a dozen plus charges. I need to test 50 of them before I can say, oh, okay, yeah, here are the ones that I think, here's 5 very different types of charges, and one of them may fit what you're looking for. Tracy Thompson, sorry to hear that. Seems like me and you both have had it rough recently, lost your job and had to find a new one last week. Glad to be able to join again. Well, I'm glad you're here tonight, Tracy, and I'm sorry that you lost your job. That sucks. That's something so many people are going through. And yeah, you said had to find a new one last week. Did you find a new one last week, or that's when you started looking? Hopefully you found a new one last week. Just Faisal, you're welcome. Anybody with a question? Battery space mooch in the front. Sorry for those of you who have to hear me say that 50 times. I'll look on from. Thank you for your kind words. Jason Campbell, it is going okay, sort of today. Hope you're doing well. Scott Bogfoot, to me it seems that 2650s are pretty crap. They don't hit hard. Why would they seem worse than 18650? Shouldn't they be better because they're bigger? Aha, that's a common misconception. 2650s haven't been made by the big manufacturers for years, so they're coming out of the smaller China factories. The market for them is tiny. They're a value cell. They're a low cost cell for typically energy applications, higher capacity, lower current ratings. The thing is, with a bigger cell, you've got longer paths for the electrons to travel, and the ions, not for the ions to travel back and forth, Well, actually, you've got longer paths for everything to travel. That means more internal resistance. It can actually be harder to make a higher performance large cell than a high performance smaller cell. So 26650s actually are starting off uh, at the bottom end of performance scale because of their size and because of the age and or technology they're using. Because the market's so small, what a factory used to make them in 2014, they're still going to be using now. They're not going to spend all that money to design a high performance 26 to 50 because the market's so small. So we've got old tech in a size that's hard to make good performance in, and we're stuck with those. And I don't think they're going to ever go any further than what they're doing now. Which some of the 30 amp ones are. Wow, the pollen here is so high, my eyes are actually tearing now. Some of the newer ones, like 30 amp, not newer ones, but there are some 26650s that are decent performer at 30 amps on there, but they're never going to hit as well as if you're thinking about a Mac. They're never going to hit as hard as a Samsung 20S or a 30T. Davey W. Puffer 63, 220 amp, 18650 batteries in series mod. Is the mod capacity 40 amps fully charged? No, no, in series, you add up the voltage. That's it. The capacity doesn't add up in a mech. Capacity doesn't add up, and the current ratings don't add up because the full current has to flow through both. So each battery is it's the same thing, a million batteries in series or one battery by itself. The full current still passes through, and each battery still has to be able to handle the full current. Tracy Thompson, yes, found one the same day. I got lucky. Excellent, Tracy. That's she's talking about a job. Awesome. Take a little break here. Ah, it's amazing for talking for me. Just wears down my throat. Maybe just a lazy talker. Jason, sorry, checking some other things that are going on around here. Oh, actually, put this on for a second. I've got for today, all three test rings are running as I try to catch up, so I can't vape until later. But got the Nobunaga on the Cthulhu with a protection board in there, and then I'm going to take the Nobunaga, and I found my COV, Council of Vapor, regulated. I don't even remember what the power level is on this, so I'll be using that. Just little tiny ones for today. So people don't yell at me when I step out onto the street and do a little stealthier vaping. I'll probably put a half ohm Canthal Twisted 28 coil in there. And then for testing, going to be doing demos. Going to go over a little bit of the smart load technology on these, when you can put the batteries in either way, the non-polarized inputs on these Freemax Maxis 100 watt and 200 watt kits. So I'm going to be doing a video on those. And then hopefully I'm getting some more Vector Plus cells, I'm actually showing it the right way, that ship with the VapX geyser. And they're supposed to be VTC 6As. I'm going to be doing some more testing on these this week. And hopefully by the end of the week, do a video on that. And that's most of what I got going. Have some other 3000 milliampere cells in the cyclers, but that's a couple of months before that anything happens with that. And that's the buffet. Oh, the buffet, it's just be 70 VG. That's all I want today. I don't have my taste buds really much, and I'm just going to be stepping out if I'm stressed out to do a little bit of vaping later. No new juices or anything. So yeah, I'm not. Let me see chat, but interestingly, the video goes away. Okay, I think we're back. And Jason Campbell could come back later, but if this happens again, I'm just going to call it a night. I'm not going to fight this. YouTube wants to do this, that's fine. All right, let's see if I go back up here to Jason Campbell. He was asking if LiPo 4X packs are better for high wattage vaping. Well, a good lipos inherently aren't better, but a good high-performing lipo can probably outperform or equal performance of the best, let's say 186, at best 21700 or something. The internal resistance is very low, but you've got a more volatile chemistry, though more easily damaged by heat. They're certainly more easily damaged physically. So there's pluses and minuses for both. You can get higher power levels in roughly the same actually, in a smaller package and slightly lighter package with lipos than you can with any round steel can cell. But again, you've got greater sensitivity to voltage, to temperature, and to physical damage. And now, yes, is it true that a lipo must never be run flat? You never run any battery flat. It damages any of them. But because lipos are just more sensitive all around, uh, running them flat is easier to cause damage. Just stay above 3 volts. I'd recommend staying above 3 volts for any lithium-ion battery, but definitely for LiPo, stay above. Waiting for the feed to appear up here. Okay, looks like I'm live. Folks, I'm going to call it. It's just too much dealing with the on and off and on and off. I never know what is going through to answer any questions or not going through, what you hear or don't hear. So we're going to call it a half-hour show tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I'm just in a I feel terrible. So I'm not going to fight YouTube. And I just don't know if you can hear the answers to the questions. And that's why you're here, to get the answers to the questions. So why should we battle it? We can try again next week. For those of you whose questions I didn't answer, I apologize. I'm sorry. Those of you who came by, thank you for joining me. And I hope everything goes much better next week. And I hope everybody has an awesome week. Thank you for joining us.